Hey, what's going on, everybody, man? We are back again, and I apologize. We had some technical difficulties, but I'm glad that my main man, Coach Patrick Nee, was willing to come back and meet with us and come on the show today. So again, it's TaylorMade Hoops Coaches Corner. Got my main man, Coach Patrick Nee, head coach at Allen County uh, Junior College up in Kansas. Hey, Coach. Once again, Coach, today we'll be talking about the present state of college basketball. Coach will give us his opinions on the NIL, the transfer portal. He's gonna give us some advice for young coaches and things to look for, things he looks for in a recruit. So once again, for the people who don't know, me and Coach Nee go way back. I actually was one of his worst assistants. I always say with him
Stop
when
now.
when Independence Junior College in that tough Jayhawk. Uh, like I said, we've remained built a relationship, remained friends, man, throughout, man. Just really, really glad to see that Coach, like you say, is at a good place. You're happy. You're somewhere like where I know we've been talking, Coach, that you're happy, you feel supported. That's always good, man. So we're gonna start off, Coach, because I know you got other things to do, Coach. Um, First question I want to ask you, Coach, is where did you grow up, Coach, and what was your athletic and educational journey? Where did you play collegially at?
Yeah, so I was born in South Bend, Indiana, but I grew up in the Dallas area, the North Dallas area. My freshman year, I played at Monmouth University, which is a Division I school in New Jersey. My coach got fired a semester. I ended up transferring to Johnson County Community College, and that's really what kind of got me introduced to this level. I was playing at Johnson County, and then I finished up at Central Oklahoma Division II school in Oklahoma City. So it was nice to kind of have, knowing I was wanting to be a basketball coach, to have a variety of different levels to kind of experience and things like that and kind of get my way. But playing in Johnson County was life changing for me because, like, out of the 21 to 22 years I've been a basketball coach has been at this level. So the junior college level is really important to me.
Oh yeah, no doubt, Coach. Uh, so let me ask this, Coach. What role did athletics play in your life growing up, Coach? How important was playing sports, Coach Nee?
Oh, it was huge. I mean, I wasn't the greatest student in the world, so athletics obviously kind of kept me on track, of kept me moving forward and things like that. And I don't know if it wasn't for college basketball, I'm not sure if I'd have a college degree this day. And now I have a master's degree, and I owe everything to college basketball because of that. So education is very, very important, but you gotta use your academics to get that ball to keep bouncing.
Well, Coach, man, you brought up a very, very good point, man. That for the viewers that's watching, that could definitely understand that what you just said. That a lot of times, Coach, you just said that even though that academics wasn't your main forte, what have you, Coach, but you had something that made you have to be a good student, what have you, because you knew in order to play basketball, what have you, you had to be a good student. So it was a way that basketball kind of tricked you. And then you look up, Coach, like you say, you got your bachelor's degree. Then you say you knew you may need to go a little bit farther because of basketball, your career that you now that you have your masters, and probably looking back, Coach, when you were a young freshman, you probably never thought that you probably have a college degree or have your masters.
No, I
Just
mean
go
that,
about
that
what you said.
obviously at the time being, you're just thinking about the next game, the next practice, stuff like that. But then you start looking forward and how obviously getting your. I mean, nowadays, like, having a college degree is like having a high school degree was 20 years ago. So I mean, you're hurting in life if you don't get to that point. And then now I just figured out I had to further my degree to open up more doors for myself. So the more you do in academics, the more doors are going to open for you. And it took me a little while in life to figure that out, but I finally did.
You're right about that, Coach. All right, hey, once again, hey, Taylor May Hoops Coaches Corner. We're here with Coach Patrick Nee, head coach at Allen County. Coach, next question. When did you realize that you wanted to be a coach? When did that coaching bug hit you, Coach?
Hit me really early. I mean, I'm a coach's son, so like I pretty much knew that basketball is eventually going to end for me at some point in time, and I had aspirations playing overseas and playing Division I. And but I had pretty early on, I'd say 7, 8, 9 years old. Like, I already knew just what emulating your father and things like that. I knew it was something I really wanted to do at a very, very young age.
Okay, okay. Well, let me ask this, Coach. How many years have you been coaching, and where are some of the other places that you coached at, Coach Nee?
Yeah, so this is year 22 for me.
Whoa.
I started at a prep school called Hargrave Military Academy out in Virginia. We won a prep school national championship, but the role that I had at that school was pretty minimal. So I knew I had to get recruiting, and so I went to Independence Community College as an assistant for 3 years, and then that got me my first head coaching job at Highland Community College. Then my boss left Independence, so I ran back Independence there. Then I had to stop at Stewart County in Liberal, Kansas. Went to Garden City as the head coach there. Got my first Division I job experience at the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, which is great. Then I went back to Allen County as an assistant. Got the head job in Northern Oklahoma, and then back to Allen County. So I know we're not talking about the young coaches, things like that, but if you're not willing to move and pick up at the top of a time, you're probably in the wrong spot, because I've lived in a million places and I've lived in 9 states. So probably moved 25 times. So you got to be willing to move at a drop of a hat if you're really trying to move up in this business.
Oh yeah, coach. I tell folks that, man, the young coach, if you're trying to coach college ball, it's not all about the glitz and glamour what they see, because most of the time, coach, they see you with your pretty Allen County shirt in the gym, whatever. They think, seriously, coach, they think that's all you doing. They don't see all the other, behind the scenes stuff work, that we do, coach. So
Yeah.
now you're right about that. And if you're not willing to sacrifice and humble yourself and move, man, you're right about it. You're not gonna move up in the profession. You're gonna be mad at yourself.
Now, so
All right.
if you're from Dallas, you're trying to stay in Dallas, you're probably in trouble, bud.
Hey, go ahead and stand down if this is what you want to do, man. Well, coach, I kind of know this answer, coach, but for the viewers, coach, let us know, coach, who influenced you as a coach? Who influenced you as a coach the most?
Well, obviously my father, my dad was the head coach of Ohio University, University of Nebraska, Duquesne, Robert Morris, had a stint in the NBA, was an assistant at Notre Dame. So he's the biggest influence. But when I went to UTRGV, University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, I worked for Lou Hill, and Lou Hill is a tremendous coach. Was at Oklahoma, Coach Trey Young and Buddy Hield, and went to a Final Four, and that got him his head coaching job. But I was more of an offensive guy till I moved there. And everything defensively that I've ever learned from him is I emulate all his drills. I copy all the stuff he did. And, like you said, we'll talk about the young coach stuff like that. But you're a fool if you're not learning, like, from every head coach that you work for. You better be stealing a little small stuff. Maybe his philosophy, he does stuff, his drills and things like that. But if you're not a sponge and picking up stuff from other people, you're not doing it the right way. But Lou Hill was a very, very, very big influence in my life.
Oh yeah, coach. I'm just gonna tease you about this, coach. Talking about being a sponge. Guys, when I left Independence or what have you, coach had a playbook or what have you, whatever that he gave me or what have you, had the plays and stuff on what have you. And when I left, what have you, of course, man, I used to look at all your plays, special ops plays. I still remember some of them dribble and and all that stuff. Yeah, I still remember all that,
Oh,
man.
we just got out of practice about 15 minutes ago, and dribbles already in, baby. We already got dribbling right
There
in the
you go,
back.
coach. There you go, coach.
Hey,
I don't think,
that back door cut gets him every time.
yes, sir, coach. Hey, coach, believe it or not, coach, when I left you, coach, and I had got a head high school coach job, that's one of the plays you ran, coach. That works on, especially at the high school level, coach, because they won't overplay or what have you. So yeah. But the funny story is, coach, I remember talking about stealing, coach. Man, I made sure, coach, I had a copy of all those plays. And I remember when you left, I know, coach, it was kind of like a quick move for you, what have you. And you may not have a copy of stuff. And I remember you talking, like you text me, like, hey, Ed. Hey man, I remember I mailed it to you. Like, hey Ed, man, can you mail me a copy of them plays and stuff, whatever? You said I lost all the stuff, whatever. I'm like, because you knew I had stolen. So what I'm telling folks, man, is that what coach is saying, young coaches, literally and figuratively, man, you got to be a thief, man. And
Yeah,
I literally stole your playbook.
no, there's like, especially nowadays, like, nobody's inventing something. You're stealing stuff from other guys. And then you just kind of make it your own. Like,
There you go.
it's like if you're a younger coach and you're looking at, like, hey, Duke runs real stuff. Duke doesn't run great stuff. They have great players. So, like, look at like the mid-major, the smaller schools, like even
Yes,
the high
sir.
school coaches, they're the ones that run the best stuff because they have to, because they don't have the best players. Now, you got 4 or 5 NBA players, you just can roll it on. Not saying like Mike Krzyzewski and those guys roll it out, but like, he
Yeah.
doesn't have to run sophisticated stuff. So, like, if you're emulating coaches, like, don't look at the best teams. Don't look at Kentucky's and the Dukes and those of the world. Look at this, like the Princetons, like, some of the smaller schools. And then you don't have to do it exactly that way. Like, you need to make it your own to a point. It's easy to tweak it and kind of just make it your own. Year to year, I try to change things just a little bit, but yeah, look at like really good high school coaches, things like that. They're running the best stuff.
Oh, and I'm telling another thing too, coach. I always tell my coaches, watch women's basketball because
Yeah.
because they don't have the athletic ability, coach. So they have to
Right.
rely on time and space and things, like
Yeah.
angles and things of that sort, coach. So there you
Yeah.
go. Well, once again, hey, I'm so excited, as you can tell, man. I'm over here smiling, coach, man. Always good to talk with you. Once again, for the people that's tuning in, I'm with my main man, Coach Patrick Nee, head coach at Allen County Junior College in Kansas. Uh, Coach, let me ask this, Coach. While we're on that topic, Coach, what is your offense and your defense philosophy? How do you like to play, Coach?
Yeah, I've been a 5 out guy for a while. I've even liked it even more just because when you're recruiting kids, like all these 6, 7 kids are like been in the post in high school and they wanted to go to the college level, and I want to be a wing, I want to be a guard. So
Mm-hmm.
I try to play
Mm-hmm.
more positionless type system. It's kind of what the NBA's kind of turned in. That's what Europe's been for a really, really long time. But we do, like when I played at Monmouth, we did play the Princeton style. So I run a play called Shin that's very, very popular, the Princeton style. Um, and then I just kind of mix that stuff in with, a little bit of maybe dribble drive to a point, a lot of transition types. I'm really big into setting ball screens in transition. I think that's really, really hard to guard. But I try not to I call it taking handcuffs off guys. Like I don't want them to think like we come down and we're running. They're looking at me like, what play we want, where play we want. Like, so I wanted them to get downhill and like, okay, and then they stop us. I might call the play, but my best teams when I have a really good point guard, he kind of knows my style of play and stuff like that, my tempo. But it's either 5 out or 4 out, one in is pretty much in either. If we put the big sometimes at the high post, which I like
Mm-hmm.
that for driving downhill, but sometimes I've got a 6, 8 bit kid, I've got a couple 6, 7 guys, so we kind of mix up what we do, but it's either going to be 5 out or 4 out, depending where we put the big and the 4 out.
Okay, okay. What about Coach? What about the defensively, Coach? I know you spoke with Coach Lou or what have you.
Yeah.
So
So
kind of talk about it a little bit, Coach.
yeah. So it's kind of what I would. The best way to explain it is kind of how Chris Beard played at Texas Tech. We're no middle drive type of team. When they drive baseline, we trap the baseline every time we do it. We put ball pressure out, but I don't overextend. I tell them like heels on the 3 point line, maybe the NBA 3 point line, but we don't overextend. We do press some of things like that, but I don't want to overextend my defense. If that guy gets beat, it breaks our whole defense down. We switch a lot. We have a tag name for switching. We call it Zorro. I picked that up from my father, kind of a weird thing, but it's always stuck with me for life.
Yep,
Um,
I'm sorry. Yep.
but like we'll switch. It's basically how we guard ball screens. We either switch or trap. Like we don't
Okay.
really hard hedge it. Now if we can kind of trap it and then kind of come out of it, that's great. But it's either everything we do is going to be very, very aggressive. Then Coach Hill taught me that. He taught me really early on in scattering reports. He'd call me. He's like, Patrick, come in my office. And he would just look at me and he'd say, whatever they do on a daily day basis, they're not doing against us. And that
Okay.
kind of really stuck with me. He's like, whatever they do every day in practice, what they're comfortable with, they're not doing that against us. And I've
Okay.
tried to hold that true. Now, obviously, I'm not as good a defensive coach. I'm still learning, but I just trying to take them out what they do on a day-to-day basis. I think is really, really key.
And you know what, Coach, man? That's something, man. When I was coach, I try to always do for us defensively, coach, where I tell guys that hey, that offensive team, kind of like Coach Lou said, man, rest in peace. Where I would say, hey, man, you gonna have to run your second option, coach. You're not gonna be able to run that first option against me. When
Yep.
my teams knew where, even at the high school level, coach, hey, they're not running the first option. And most of the time, to be honest, coach, this not knocking any high school coach, but a lot of times, guys, they don't have a second option. They don't have
Right.
a second option at the high school level. It's like, so there you go, coach. All right, coach. Hey, man. Let me ask this, coach. Who are some of the great players that you recruited or coached that are playing or played professionally, coach?
Yeah, I'd say at the top of the list, Naeem Stevenson. He's from Irving Ranchview. Played for me at Seward County Community College with a two-team All-American, 2 years All-American. Never been done in the history of that college in basketball. Went on to Texas Tech, played for Chris Beard. Ended up his senior year, they ended up losing to Villanova, ended up winning the whole thing. He wasn't on the team that went to the Final Four, but was on an Elite Eight team. Played a number of years. He's still playing pro now. Has been in the Philippines, been in England, been in Europe. He was a top player. Tony Criswell played at Missouri. Titus Rubles played at Cincinnati, another Dallas guy. My kid named Isaiah Swan from Washington, D.C., played for Florida State. Guy named Curtis Towns that played at Arkansas. So I've had a ton of them, but I mean, as a head coach, Naeem Stevens is right at the top of the list. I mean, especially me being a guy that grew up in the Dallas area, like we're still very close to this day. He's actually starting to like get into coaching himself, which anytime you can do stuff like that, and like you see one of your foreign players coaching, that gets you really excited. And and we're going to get back to young coaches later on, but that's the biggest thing as a player. My favorite thing as a head coach is to hire one of my former assistants because number
Okay.
one, you trust them, and there's a
Yeah.
trust level there and things like that. But then I haven't changed a ton of stuff we do. I mean, it's obviously I'm add stuff, but my terminology, how I do stuff, he understands that. He understands me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so like even if you're a player and stuff like that, that's where you're probably going to get your first chance and your first job is through one of your
Okay.
former coaches.
Okay. And you know what, Coach? It's funny you said that because I had a one of my prospects, what have you. His dad had text me, what have you, and was asking me, basically he was like, "Hey, Coach, man, you got any, encouraging words for him, some stuff that can help him, have some success as a freshman, maybe get some minutes or what have you." And one of the things I told him, Coach, and you probably could contest to this, that I told him, I said, it's not always with coaches, it's not always the player who's the most talented or what have you. I said, coaches go with guys who they trust. I
Yeah.
said, who they trust. And I remember we, I'm not gonna go into it, but I remember with you, Coach, we had situations like that where it's a trust factor, and you always used to tell me, you say, Ed, I got to go with guys that I trust or what have you. That and I used to ask you, well, why is that, Coach? You say because I know what they're gonna do. I know what they can and can't do. I trust that. What it's gonna do. And I told him, I said, you got to understand this too. You have to understand that the trust doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be developed between the coach and player on the court. That's also meaning off the court. If a coach know he could trust you to go to class or get your grades, what have you, then that's going to stand to on the court. What
Yeah.
have you. So yeah, trust is a big thing, and I try to tell kids that, man, the coach got to be able to trust you. I have to be able to trust you, coach.
Absolutely.
All right, Coach. Hey, once again, we're here with Coach Patrick Nee, head coach at Allen County Junior College up in Kansas. My main man. Coach, let me ask this, Coach. We're gonna move on to what everybody want to know about, want to get everybody coach's opinion on. Let me ask you about this, Coach. The present state of college basketball. We're gonna first talk about the NIL, Coach. What is your opinion on that? What do you feel are some pros and cons of the NIL, Coach?
Well, the NIL is very, very weird because not everybody's really getting stuff out of it. I mean, if you're not a prospect, like I'll give you an example. I know this for a fact. The K-State linemen all have an NIL, and it's with like great clips. And so you know what they get for that? Free haircuts on game day. And so the majority of stuff with the NIL is like everyone thinks everyone's getting big bucks, stuff like that. A lot of it's like really, really small stuff. And it's
Okay.
good because it teaches kids about the business world and things like that, makes them smart on that stuff. But a lot of these kids aren't getting rich. But the guys, like, here's the way I look at it is like these boosters are not made of money for life. So like, it's real popular right now and they're throwing money out left, right, especially in football and things like that. But it's just I just don't see the gravy train's eventually going to end. I just can't see it going on forever. And then what's going to happen when you give a kid $100,000 and then he doesn't perform? And what people
Mhm.
don't understand is like it's not a guaranteed contract. The
It's an
second you don't
investment.
perform, they can just say nope and just take that thing away from you. So that's what people don't really get. A
Mhm.
lot of it has to do with your social media following. And I know, the younger kids, stuff like that, like we don't have to teach them about that stuff. They know more than we do about that type of thing. But how many followers do you have on Twitter? Like how big of an audience if you're doing things. But you see, I got a KU picture behind me over here. Danny Manning's one of my dudes.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
but like the University of Kansas, like a lot of those guys like have an NAI with Wendy's, and I don't know what
Okay.
they're getting paid. But if you go around Lawrence at a college town like that, there's just pictures of any restaurant, things like that, just all over the place. So a lot of it's just smaller stuff. But I mean, I just watched. There's a special on I believe Peacock about the NIL at LSU, and now those dudes are getting paid. I mean, some of the female athletes are going back for their fifth year because, like, Angel Reese was making more money at LSU than she is in the WNBA, and it's
No
not
doubt.
even close. And
Not even
so
close, Coach.
sometimes it's just stuff like that. But I think it's just going to be an evolving process. I think the brakes are going to be pumped on it a little bit as the future comes on. But I mean, it's nice to see kids get paid. But God, just think about the Fab Five. If those guys went in NAL back in the
Oh
day,
my
that
God.
just would have exploded. I mean, they got exploited so bad. But it's nice to see that type of stuff. And the next thing is with the NAL, at least now schools aren't cheating anymore. Like, it's all out front. So instead of like guys having bad guys, and what you've
Yeah,
done
yeah.
with this is you've taken the middle guy, like some of these crooks and stuff like that, they're involved with kids that are, around them. You're taking all those dirty guys away. And I like that part of it. But I just don't see it's not going to go away, but I can't see the money train just staying on for this long. It's going to, at some point in time, it's going to start slowing down a little bit.
Well, you know what, Coach, man, you kind of said, I was interviewing another coach yesterday. He said the same thing, Coach, as far as about guys to understand that it's an investment. That
Yeah.
if the people feel they're not getting a return on the investment, then the money's going to stop. Kind of like what you said, Coach, because they don't understand, especially if we're speaking of the ones that's getting, the real money, the real bags. We're not talking about the guys that's getting the free haircuts.
you like
But
that one, don't you?
Yeah, I like that with Coach. I like that with Coach. But he kind of spoke of Coach. Which I told him, I said, hey man, I can't talk. I'm not gonna talk bad about him, whatever. Which he did, but he was talking about Calipari. In Arkansas. I said, hey, Calipari, they got the largest, budget or what have you. He said, the guy that hired him told him, hey man, whatever you want, Coach, whatever, blah blah blah. He said that's cool. But Ed, think about this. He said, think about if Cal finishes third in the SEC. Think about if he loses in the second round.
Yep.
He said, Ed, I know this your guy. He said, but do you
He's
think
turning
people
up.
think that's a good investment? Do they think it's gonna be a good return on their investment? I'm
Right.
like, so
It's that, and that's what they got to understand. They just turned this into a business. I mean, like this isn't sports anymore. This is a business now.
And he kind of spoke of Coach, man, which is kind of crazy, man. And I know you probably have to deal with this a lot. He was saying that now the exit meetings that you have with your players at the end of the year are different. Where before you might be talking about if you knew a kid still had eligibility, what have you. Hey man, what you need to work on, but when we go have a good team, your rolling team. He said now. If you had some of these bigger schools, you got guys on the NIL deals, coach. They don't care about. They talking about, hey, coach, man, hey, how much money I'm gonna get next year, what have you. So he said, the biggest thing he said that he feels there's a negative part about it, which I know you being on, coach. He said it's no more loyalty, amongst the
Zero,
players or whatever.
zero.
Zero
They're all
loyalty,
chasing
coach.
money. There's no loyalty to the coach. There's no loyalty to the school. It's just chase that
That's what
bag.
he said. That's what he said, coach. Well, coach, man, let me ask this, coach. We gonna move to the other side, the other popular thing that's been going on in college basketball for 5 years. What's your take on the transfer portal, coach, and what's the pros and cons on that, coach?
Um, the pros are that the coaches don't have any control anymore. The players do. That's the pro.
Okay.
The con of it is like we just talked about with loyalty. I mean, let's just say your kid at UT Arlington, my boy KT, and
Okay.
you're the all-time leading scorer in the history of the school, and you go to your junior year, and then you up and go to A&M, or you go to Texas, or you go to OU, or you go to Oklahoma State. Like, it's your senior year, man. Like, I mean, just like you're going to up and just leave, so I don't like that because that school brought you up, they recruited you, and then when you finally got good, you're gone. So
They
I really
developed you,
don't
coach.
like
They
that. But
developed you.
it
No,
just
no. Go
go
ahead,
ahead.
coach.
No,
No,
it
I'm
just
just saying. Go ahead, coach.
I mean, it finally gives the kids players of where, like, coach could bury you on the bench and be like, you have no control. Where now the kid's like, well, screw you, man. Like, I'm just going to transfer. So, but I don't like it's now you can't be a double transfer unless you're a fifth year senior. So you really can only transfer once. But once you're a grad transfer, you can end up being at 3 schools. So when I see guys that have been at 3 or 4 different schools because of COVID, like, that's just not a good look for basketball. Like, and it's not good looks for you. I mean, I look at guys that, like, I'm recruiting in high school, and if you bounced around to 4 different AAU teams, you've been to 3 different high schools, like, something's off to me. So I don't like it that they can bounce around that much and things like that. There's no loyalty to that point, and that bothers me. But I like it where now, obviously, the coaches don't have power over the players, but just at the same time, as a coach, I got to be walking on eggshells. I'm coaching Ed, and I got to walk on eggshells and make sure you're happy. And maybe I can't coach you the way I want to coach you because I got to make sure you're happy, or I'm scared you're going to leave, and that's not good.
Oh man, good Lord, coach, man. I can't wait, man, to view it, what have you, man. But I was talking with matter of fact, I was talking with Coach Sean Woods, former assistant at Southern, man.
Sean's my dog. I love Sean.
Oh yeah, good. And coach say, hey, coach, we always say the same
Sean,
thing.
Sean would have a tough time like doing it. I guarantee he's railed.
No, we
He's
talked
pulled it
about
way back now. I mean,
we
because the
talked
way he was
about it,
coaching
coach.
back in the day,
Coach, we
that
talked
don't
about
work
it,
no
coach.
more, man.
Coach, we talked about that. And that's what he said, coach. He said the thing that, even when he was last coach that bothered him about the transfer portal, coach, he said is that what you just said, he says no loyalty, coach. And then he was saying that he was saying like, coach, when I did take kids in transfer portal, he said, coach, I only took kids that came from winning programs. He said, because me, he said, "Cause I'll be honest." He said, "When I see a kid in the transfer portal, whatever," he said, "I look at it as, be honest, that the kid is a quitter." To be honest, he said,
Right.
he said, so at least if I'm gonna take a kid like that, let me take a kid that comes from a winning program that may, understand stuff. And then decide, he said that what you kind of alluded to, coach. He said, if you got a kid that's on the NIL, what have you, he said, he said you got to coach. He said it's hard to coach. He said I can't really get into him and really coach him like I want to. He said because if he gets mad and gets upset or what have you, then he's gone.
Yeah.
And these kids now they're so shallow and so, they're not thick skinned. They can't take criticism, coach, or what have you. They take that as oh, coach, man, you dissing me or what have you. No, it's constructive. My job is I see something you're not doing well to correct it, but they take it as, oh, coach, coach don't think I can play, or coach, come on, man. So it was funny. He basically was saying the same things you were saying, Coach Nee.
And
It's
that makes
funny,
me feel
man.
good. If I'm saying the same thing Sean Woods is, I'm on the right track.
No, he was, man. He did, man. All right. Hey, once again, want to let everybody know, man, I'm with my main man, Coach Patrick Nee on TaylorMade Hoops Coach's Corner. He's the head coach at Allen County Junior College in Kansas. We just got through. We talked about the transfer portal, the NIL. Now we're going to talk a little bit about coaching and what and some of the things that he looks for. So, Coach, in your experience as being a prep coach, JUCO assistant, D1 assistant, and now head coach, what are some of the things that you look for when you're evaluating a player or a prospective prospect? What are those non-negotiables? What are those things that
Yeah.
Coach Nee looks at? That, hey, the guy got to do this.
I would say three things. I'd say toughness is very, very high on the list.
Okay.
A guy that's going to live in the gym, a kid that's going to work, a kid that a common question I've gotten a lot because the cool thing about junior college is I kind of double dip, which means
Okay.
for high school and prep school coach, I'm talking to them, but then the D1 guys are talking to me. And so one of the things I hear from the D1 guys all the time, they say, does he love it? Does he love it? And I know exactly what that means because is he a sometime guy or is he an everyday guy? And then so I've started using some of that terminology talking to high school coaches because here's how it works with recruiting. It's my job to move my guys on, so I'm loyal to my dudes, but I'm not going to lie. But if you don't ask the right questions, I'm not going to just give out information without you asking the right question. Now, if you ask the right question, like is he this, is he this, is this, I'm going to tell the truth. I'm not going to go out there and be like, well, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do this. Like you got to ask me the right things. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep selling them. So I've kind of learned a lot about that, kind of ask the right question the recruiting process. And then is he unselfish? Is he a team guy? Stuff like that. So I've learned from a lot of coaches, like I've heard this from a couple people that they'll go see and they won't tell the player they're coming to the game and they're going to a game that they know they're going to win by a lot. They're playing a lousy team because they know well, how does he is he still into the game? How does he interact with his teammates? When he comes out of the game, does he dap up all his teammates? Is he talking back to the refs? Is he talking back to the coach? So body language, just how he conducts himself, because seeing talent is not that very hard. It's seeing all the intangibles and stuff like that kind of go with it. So is he a good teammate? Like that's very, very important, man, because you could maybe have one bad output on your team, but you got more than one or two or three, it's going to pollute your whole team. And I've had teams like that where I'm like, God, I missed on the character of this kid. Like maybe I didn't ask this, maybe I didn't do this. So character and how you are a teammate, that reflects a lot. So I've tried to do that a couple of times where I don't tell them I'm coming and kind of stand in the corner, kind of hide. I don't wear Allen County stuff. I'm just wearing plain clothes. I don't want them to know I'm there. And I just want to see, what is he doing on the bench? Is he goofing off still? The game's over. They're up by 30. Is he screwing around? Is he cheering on some of his not as good teammates, things like that? So, I mean, talent and things like that are important, but as a character becomes very, very important. So you got to watch for really, really little things with body language, interaction, a lot of the type of stuff. Because I'll be turned off real quick if he's someone that every time something happens, complain to the ref, off the list. He makes a play, doesn't dap up his teammate, off the list. So that's kids like this is what you got to understand. It's not they're looking for things they're looking for negative things. They're not looking for positive things. They're not, because if that's your game, you've already done something to get their attention.
There you go, coach.
So they're looking at you so close at one little thing that you do wrong to say nope, because these guys are getting paid a lot of money, and that assistant comes back to his head coach, and you're not the person he said he was, he's going to get fired. So they're going to watch for all the little details. They're looking for something negative about you. They're not looking for great dunk or something. They're looking how do you do all the little stuff?
And some I learned from you, coach, is that, coach, when I was working with you at Indy, man, is that when I used to go to games, I remember you saying that when I used to go to games, for you or what have you, coach, that's what I would do. I would sit directly behind the bench.
Yeah.
And I did that purposely, coach, so I could see how their kids reacted during the game. The coach takes them out. He sit down, is he pouting or what have you, like you said, coach. And also, too, Coach Woods kind of spoke of this when he's talking about recruiting. He says that now, he said he always, you probably do this, coach, he recruits parents. He said because
that's a really good point. Really good point. Because let me touch on that real quick. Now I'm mom and dad or grandma going crazy in the stands, that's great.
Yeah.
But
He
like they're
said
gonna
that.
watch that real close. Like you're going down there and talking to the coach, or like, oh my God, if you try to talk to him in the middle of the game,
Yeah, yeah, exactly, coach. That's what he said, coach.
no.
Yeah, yeah. He said, coach, he's go to the game sometimes. He would just watch the parent and
Yeah.
see, like you said, he said the parents, one of the parents, talking to the refs out there. He's like, yep. He
Oh
said,
yeah, no.
yeah, yeah,
You think that like he goes to Arkansas or Texas? Like you think they're putting up with that? They're like, no, 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 no.
no,
I mean,
no,
another thing that like this, and this is what I'm talking to parents now. Like at the college level, we're not really
no,
talking.
no,
Like,
coach. Oh, coach.
I mean, like
Oh,
it's the well being with your kid. Hey, that's I'm not saying that, but we're not talking about basketball. Like
oh
that's
no,
just not having it. So
oh
like I'm
no.
like if mom is calling me and asking about playing time and stuff like that, like that's just like mom and dad like in college basketball, that's way out of bounds. That does not work. Trust me. Like your kid will be gone in two, or they're going to probably take it out on your kid because like, why is your mom calling? Or they're going to embarrass them in front of everybody. Like your dad just called me yesterday. I'm like, I told you, I ain't talking to parents, man. And I'm only at the junior college level, and I'm that way. So I can imagine the Division I level, like that just doesn't happen.
Oh no, coach. Oh, coach. Coach. I remember a
That
story
was a
about
great.
that.
That's a great point. I didn't think
Go
about
ahead,
that
coach.
aspect. That's a great point.
Oh yeah, coach. And coach, I got a quick story about that. I remember when I was at Independence with you, coach, and I remember that, coach. We had that's what you do, and you taught me that, coach. That hey, that's part of being the assistant coach. The assistant coach, I take out the blunt of talk to the parents, the
Yeah.
kids, whatever. You don't have time for that, coach. You
I'd be
need to
like,
coach your
Ed,
team.
Ed, you better keep her away from me.
Yeah.
I ain't talking to her, man. Ed, you better keep away from me.
Hey, then you look at me like, hey, if not, then you might be gone too with him. So I'm like, hey, hey, but I'm not gonna. But hey, I'm not gonna say the kid's name. But I'm just gonna
Oh
say
no,
that.
but
No,
I'm pretty sure I know what you're talking about. So yeah, we
okay,
ain't
there you
going
go.
there.
And I remember you called me. He's like, hey, Ed, you gotta talk to dad for me, what have you? Because you like, nah, I don't want you like, Ed, you got it, Ed. Yeah.
I was like, you're like, what do you want me to say? He's like, Coach needs busy with his family. He wanted to relay this message to you. And like, what do you want? What do you
What?
want?
Yes.
You want to talk
Yeah.
about playing time? Yep. You need talking to Coach Nee.
No, man. So of course, like you say, I had to hear today. I'm like, yeah, man. And the whole thing is, man, is that this coach that I tell coaches this, that when you have to be the assistant coach, you have to hear that from the parents. The biggest thing, man, still at the end of the day, man, don't throw your head coach up on the bus, man.
Oh
Still be
boy.
loyal. Yeah,
You
still be
you
loyal to your coach. Yeah, yeah. I
you
still was
ain't
like,
gonna be doing this very long. You do that. I mean, if
no,
you're
no, coach.
that's your here. I mean, for younger coaches, I know we're gonna get into in a little bit, but like your number one job is to make your head coach look better. Like your
Yes,
job is,
yes,
and
yes,
then your number two job is make his life easier. Those are your two
yes.
main jobs.
Leave it two
That and
jobs.
then the third one is go get players.
Go get some players, baby.
It's real simple. It's real simple.
Real simple, coach. Real simple. Well, coach, man, the second part of that question, coach, is when you're looking at prospects, coach, does it matter? Do you look for the same things, whether it's you looking at a high school or a college prospect? When you're looking for when you're evaluating, coach, when you evaluate the player, do you look for the same thing, whether the kid's a high school kid or whether it's a college prospect, a JUCO player, or a 4-year transfer? Do you look for the same things when you're evaluating, coach?
I mean, obviously, we're talking position stuff like that. Obviously, changes with things like that. But I mean, like I said before, like toughness, skill, things like that. That's like really, really high. But a lot of it comes down to relationships with coaches, the AU guys, things like that. Basically, people you trust. Like,
Okay.
is he a high character kid? Like, does he this or do that? I mean, I really rely on the guys that I trust and that I know, and I kind of keep going to the same people a lot when it comes to stuff like that. But obviously your body's really important. I'm big in the weight room, strength conditioning, diet. Like, I mean, once you get to the college level, man, like, your body is a big, big deal. And so your
Mhm.
weight training, what you're eating, I mean, and that's what kids in high school don't understand. Like, what you're putting in your body is your fuel. So if you're eating McDonald's every day and stuff like that, like, that's just not going to work. I know
Mhm.
Chris Beard's big of like, stay off the dollar menu, eat something with color, which means eat something like, salad, vegetables at some point in time, things like that, high protein. But you really got to start investing in your diet because you can lift weights all you want, but if you're putting crap food in your body, you're not going to get bigger and stronger. So physicality, size, but obviously, skill at the end of the day. But no, I mean, I wouldn't say because if you looked at our team and the guys I've had back and forth, like I've got a 6'7" guard from Columbus, Ohio, that I think is probably a mid-major player, but he's 6'7" and skinny. So the thing with him is just like, like when we go to the cafeteria, I eat in the cafeteria with my guys every single day, and he'll like go to like put his tray up, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Well, I'm full, coach." I said, "Nope, go get another chicken sandwich. Go get some more pasta." So I tell them to almost eat until they're uncomfortable. And when I had Naeem Stevenson with me, he was a hell of a player. But when we
Okay.
went to Texas Tech, I said, "What is the biggest adjustment?" Because I wanted to learn from him. We talked almost every
Yeah,
day.
yeah,
And he
yeah.
said, at their level, like, they work out, it's the protein shake, it's the bars, they have food all over the locker room. But he's like, "Coach, like, they just make me eat till I'm uncomfortable. 10 o'clock at night, like they're bringing food by, they just like eat, 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 lift, 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 shoot, shoot, shoot. Like it's just nonstop of things like that."
Okay, okay. Well, yeah, Coach. Once again, guys, we're talking to Coach Patrick Nee on TaylorMade Hoops Coach's Corner, head coach at Allen County Junior College in Kansas. Coach, you already kind of talked about the second part, Coach, but what are some things that you feel that players focus on too much, Coach? You kind of already alluded to some of the things, some of the other things. What are some things you feel that players focus on too much? And then we'll talk about some things need to be working on. But what's some things you think about players focus on too much, Coach? They worry about too much.
I think the starting five, that's number
Okay.
one. I mean, like, just to allude to this, the number 2 pick in the NBA draft came off the bench. And it was 2 Kentucky guys, both came off the bench. I think, the kid Shepard was number 2 to Houston. I can't remember the other kid's name. He went like 6 somewhere else, and they both came
Mm-hmm.
off the bench. So
Mm-hmm.
if any of my guys, sorry for my language, if any guys bitch about coming off the bench, I'm going to go right to that every time. I'm like, "Oh, you're too good to come off the bench, and this guy's the number 2 pick."
Yeah.
But I'm not. My group I have this year, I probably have 8 guys that could probably start. So I'm going to kind of use it as a carrot, kind of dangling in front of a horse, and just like, "Hey, you had a
Okay.
really good week of practice, so you're going to start now." And not sorry, like, but the problem is, like, when you do that, you want to reward a kid, but how does the kid that you took out of the starting lineup, how does he handle it? Like
Oh yeah.
that becomes really
Okay.
difficult. But I think the starting lineup, I think that's just really overrated. But I get it. Especially when you get to the high school level, like having your name called to go in the starting line, that's special. That's fun. But I think that's the biggest thing they get hung up in. It's just not really a big deal to me is starting. But hey, man, when I was a player, like if I in high school, man, if I wasn't starting, I'd be pretty pissed. But I get it. But at the level, like, I'll put it this way: like you're going to play basketball to a point where, like, you've been the best player forever. There's gonna be a point where you're not anymore, and you're like maybe 7, 8, or 9. And how are you going to handle that rather than starting? So if I had to answer the best way, I just like being the starting five. I think that's really, they shouldn't worry about that near as much as they do. Like, who cares? Just finish the game. That's all that matters.
Mm-hmm. Well, Coach, you kind of talked about a little bit. This next question I'm gonna ask, you kind of already answered a little bit, but kind of go into a little bit more, if you don't mind, Coach. What are some things you feel the players should be focusing on if they're trying to become a better player and try to be a more recruitable prospect? What's some things you feel that they need to be working on, Coach? I know you talked about the body, nutrition, or some other things you think that they need to be focusing on, Coach?
The classroom.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
That's the more, like, you're going to open more doors. So like I said, my kid from Columbus, Ohio, he's a hell of a player, and William Mary offered him, it's a, out of the Colonial School in Virginia, it's a very high academic school, and he didn't have a
Mhm.
high GPA to go there. Closed the
Oh
door.
man.
So it's just,
Oh man.
he'll be fine. He'll have a bunch of things like that. But that's just like your academics, like the higher academic you are, the higher your ACT, SAT are, that's going to just keep doors open. So the classroom, that's just really overlooked. Like, we're talking basketball, but you don't have your grades, man. Like, it doesn't matter. So I'd
Mhm.
say your academics. That's extreme. Then you start to understand once you get to the college level, just like, I mean, how many guys are going to the NBA? Not, it's like 1 or 2% of college athletes are going to that level. So you better get
Mhm.
your degree. So, because it's just, a college degree nowadays is like a high school degree was 20 years ago. Like, you got to have that. So keep those doors open, and because that ball's going to stop bouncing. So what are you going to do when basketball's over? Because it's going to happen.
And this is another thing I just want to kind of touch on. I try to tell players, and you big on this, coach, is that when you're going through your journey, lifestyle about relationships, communication and things. That's so something I always try to tell players, something you said, coach, is that I know everybody thinks it's gonna go to the NBA, what have you, but your grades and your character, coach, that's what's gonna take you further, coach, because like you just said, perfect example with Naeem. Naeem still playing, still can play, a little bit longer if he wants to, but now he's getting into coaching. And the reason why he'll be able to do some things, what have you, because I've had the pleasure, no name, what have you. great kid, people like him, great person to be around, what have you. So that's going to take him a long way to the point what you're saying. Got that degree, got good character, what have you. That's going to take him probably a lot farther than the basketball is, because at the end of the day, we all know the basketball's going to quit bouncing. So I tell kids that get your grades. Don't be a knucklehead. That same teacher you in high school that you being a turd in their class, that might be the same teacher that you need to get a recommendation letter for. Or
Absolutely. Like, who do you think the first people you call? It's the
that's
people
what we
like
call,
it's
coach.
your high school and college. It's like the people around you, and like even to go back with talking about that, like in the recruiting process, like they dig so deep that they're going to try to find a
Oh
teacher that
yeah,
doesn't like you. They're going to try. They're
yeah.
trying to find a reason not to have you and stuff like that. So people are going to remember that, and I have to do this all the time. And I mean, that's the greatest part about this job is when my guys move on and like, coach, I just had a baby. Coach, I just got married. Coach, can you fill out this, give me a job recommendation. Can I they call you as a reference? Like they're
Hmm.
the first people that you look to. So like
Hmm.
that they're gonna look back at you. So like that recommendation is a big deal because like, that's why they like the great thing about, once you get out of sports and move on to your like a real job, they know that you've worked hard. Like they know that you're a team player. Like there's
Hmm.
certain things
Hmm.
in athletics that you have to do. So if it's you and another guy and you play college sports, you're gonna get the nod just because of that.
And you know what? And that's something I tell my son right now, man. He's 14, a freshman, just really, get involved in
He's
sports.
only 14. He's huge. He
Coach,
looks like a grown man at 14.
coach, you gotta see him in person. Yeah, he has the body, coach. But the thing I always tell him, coach, is that make sure you watch how you treat people and things like that, because you never know who you might need, man. Don't be a turd, man, because people gonna remember that, man. Because at the end of the day, sometimes college players, when you're good, you the man, people can kiss your butt, you might be a little arrogant, what have you. But you understand that people are just being that way because you're doing something for them. You making money for them or whatever, or they like you or what have you, a fan of yours. But then when that ball stops
It's fake.
bouncing,
It's fake.
yeah, it's fake. It's fake, coach. It's fake, coach. But
Because
yep,
that's what my father taught me at a really, really young age was like, you treat the CEO and the janitor the exact same way.
yes,
You treat
coach.
people in the cafeteria just like the president the same way. And
Hmm.
I've gotten a lot of respect through my career because both my parents have taught me things like that. It's got me a long way of just like where if you're that type of person, things like that, and you don't think people talk like
Hey,
like the janitor talking to it's like, man, like Coach Nee, man, he's just a really
they
nice
tell you,
guy.
yeah.
So,
Uh huh. Uh huh.
and those are the people you interact with all the time. It's like you're not better than anybody else, so like
Hmm.
act that way.
Hmm. And another thing the kids don't realize is, like, say for instance, coach, you're talking about the big time schools, like the Kentuckys and Dukes and things like that. Man, I'm gonna tell you, man, coach, they do their research, coach. I promise you, like I had a kid, man, when I was coaching at Peace, and Tony Mitchell got drafted by the Detroit Pistons, man. And Kentucky was recruiting him, man. And when I tell you, coach, that they went talk to every teacher, I mean, janitor coach. I mean, the guy who ran the recreation center coach. I
Yep.
mean, anybody they could find, whatever, like you say, that knew about this kid or what have you, and they would ask they coach. They knew coach the kid hang out. It's like coach. They probably did coach because they that big time. They may have a problem investigate. I don't know, coach, but they
Oh,
knew
there's
everything.
probably no doubt.
Yeah, they knew everything about their kid, coach. Like they knew what he did, some of the good and bad stuff. They knew everything, coach. So I tell these kids, hey man, you can't hide, man. When people invest that money in you, coach, it's an investment. They go, coach. I got to know, coach, that at least if I know if you do something bad, or it may not necessarily be bad. At least I know you do that, and I know how
Yeah,
I know how to
at least
deal with it.
I know what I'm getting myself into.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that's a good point.
Yeah, but all right, coach, man. Let me get you out of here, coach. Excuse me. Next question I want to ask you, coach. Matter of fact, I think it's the last question, coach. Uh, any advice for any young coaches who are trying to move up in the profession, whether it be a high school coach or trying to move up to college, or whether, like you say, it's an assistant coach in college who might be trying to get their head job like you, coach? What's
Yeah.
some advice that you have for them?
I think working basketball camps is really big. Um, you're going to be around obviously the whole staff and things like that. You're going to meet other young coaches like yourself. The whole business is about networking and things like that. So as many basketball camps as you could possibly run. Um, obviously, somehow being a part of an AU program is big because I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about recruiting. It's all
I
about
play.
guys and stuff like that. Coaches aren't like I'm a little bit different because I've been an assistant for half my career and a head coach for half my career. So I always I understood that as an assistant, I needed like something on the staff, like, like right now, my current assistant coach, he's only 24 years old. He's a manager at Oklahoma State. I give him all our OBs, like our out of bounds stuff and our side out of bounds stuff. And I don't touch it at all. But that's his baby. So I know it's going to be really, really good. But at really, they don't give a crap how you can coach. They're not worried about your X's and O's, stuff like that, because you're probably they might most of these guys, you're not doing anything like that. It's like
Mhm,
you're getting players, you're doing paperwork and stuff like that you don't want to do, and you're just with the guys. Like that's your main
mhm,
job, take care of the guys.
mhm,
The second thing is, um, if you're like, let's just say we're in the Dallas Fort Worth area, if you're not willing to leave Dallas Fort Worth, you're not going very far. Like you got to be willing to live. Like I live in Iowa, Kansas. It's a town of 6,000 people. I've lived all over the country and stuff like that, but you've got to willing to pick up at a diamond, just a drop of a hat. You better like to start off, you better be willing to live in a dorm room. You better be willing to live in eat in the cafeteria, and you better be ready to live in a small town. And if you're
mhm.
not willing to do that for a couple of years and build yourself up to be able to get the job that you want to get, it's just not going to happen. So if you're thinking that you're going to stay where you're at, and so like, well, that's too far, they don't
Mhm.
care. Like you better be willing to go to Laramie, Wyoming. You better be willing to go to Iowa, Kansas. You better willing to go to State Fair, Missouri. Like so, your first couple jobs are not going to be glamorous jobs. You got to be willing to just roll your sleeves up and get to work because it's not an easy business. And there's going to be time if you haven't been fired in coaching, it's going to happen eventually. So like you just got to be willing to. Hey, and when that happens, you have to go backwards. And I've got a ton of friends in this business that I have one really really good friend. Obviously, I won't say his name, but he was the the what was he the director of basketball operations in Indiana, but they went to the
Okay.
Final Four that year. He worked for John Chaney at Temple. He'd worked at Bowling Green, and eventually at Bowling Green they got fired. But he bought a house. He had his family there, and he's had opportunities, but he's not willing to go backwards. And if you get
Oh,
fired,
okay.
you've got to go from here down to here, but then you kind of just build your way back up, and that's
Mhm,
just how this
mhm.
works. It's just an up and down type of system. So if you're not willing to you know, be a grinder, be willing to move anywhere at any time, it's not going to work, man.
No, and you said something very profound, coach. You got to be able to reinvent yourself, coach. That's what coaches are. We millionaires. We got to be able to shed that skin and put on another skin or what have you. And
I
you're
mean,
right about that,
I've
man.
been fired. I've been fired as a head coach. Had to go back to as an assistant, and then almost start over. I got lucky. Like so, I'm at UTRGV with Lou Hill. He passes away, so I'm finally. I leave a division. I leave the Garden City head job to finally go to Division One. Unfortunate incident happens with Coach Hill. So then the only job I could find was I was an assistant in Allen County. So my boss is 10 years younger than me, and I live in a dorm room. And so I got to leave my family back in Texas, live in a dorm room. But in 1 year, I'm the head coach at Northern Oklahoma Tonkawa. Like it took me only a year. I got lucky. But if I don't do that, I was going to go work at Dick's Sporting Goods store in Edinburgh, Texas for the rest of my life. And then
Oh
I do
yeah.
that for a couple of years. You're never getting a job. Like you wait around, and think, "Oh, I'm just going to do this job for a while." They're not interested in that stuff. So you get out, you're done, bro.
No, coach. No, coach. No, you right about that, coach. You got to stay around it, man. That's the biggest thing about it. I remember even when I was out of coaching for us on the high school level, I remember a good thing that my uncle told me. He's like, "Hey, man," and I didn't understand. Now, I understand it now. You kind of bring it to light a little bit more. He said, "Hey, you got to stay around the game. You got to
Yeah,
stay. You got to stay around the game." He said, "Hey, man." He told me, said, just like he said, "Hey, man, I've been fired so many times, man." He said, "Hey, man, that's part of it, man." He said, "Don't take it personal, what have you." What have you say, stay around the game. So, like what you said, coach, kind of the script of what you said, young coach, I hope you're listening. I did that. Got let go, fired, what have you. Coaching high school ball as a head coach, what have you. And then what I did was, hey, I connected myself. I knew some folks. I knew Tony Johnson, the director of the Mustangs, what have you. Gave him a call, what have you. He knew my uncle, whatever. Because like I say, who him and my uncle grew up together. Called him, whatever. Of course, I had coached some of his players. Titus Rubles, a couple guys like that, whatever. So he knew. So I was like, "Hey, man, need a spot." He's like, "Hey, we got practice on, we got practice on such. Come on through, man." And
yeah,
rescues, I coached with him, AAU, and they open up some doors or what have you. Like you say, staying around the game, end up bumping to, which I end up bumping to Al Johnson, who knew you, or what have you. So there you
yeah.
go, coach. To your point, coach, if I wouldn't have not been around the business, would have been crying, feeling bad for myself and all that crazy crap or whatever, then it wouldn't happen. And then the same thing is what you're saying as far as on the collegiate level, coach. if you have any type of lapse, coach, man, you're not lying, coach. It's hard to get back in. And I'm telling you, the only way you may be able to get back in, like honestly, I've had a couple opportunities or whatever. And the only reason why is because people know that I have players. You know, he got players. He know the coaches. It's all about players. So they know, hey, even though he haven't coached in a while, but hey, we'll go because we know Ed. We know he got players. But so to your point, man, young coaches, please do that, man. Work them camps.
Yep.
Stay around the business and network, man, and be loyal, man. Be loyal because hey, me and Coach Neat, man.
Loyalty is the biggest thing, man. Like if even one person can say you're not a loyal person, you're done.
Yeah, in this
You're
business,
done.
yeah. You don't want their reputation, man. You don't
No,
want their reputation, Coach
it'll
Neat.
kill you. It'll kill you. So hey,
Yeah.
young coaches out there, don't overstep your boundaries with your head coach. And at any
No,
point you think you're going to like overtake his job, we're done.
don't do it. Don't
We're
do it.
done.
Don't do it, man.
We're
Hey,
done.
know your role. Know your role.
Stay in your lane.
Hey, coach, you said earlier, coach. Understand the two things. Hey, make your coach look good and make your coach job easier, man. Don't. Hey, you don't want to
My
have to reach
dad
up.
taught me that at a really, really young age. You know, just like, listen, Patrick, listen. This is your job. Don't be he don't care that you think you know X's and O's, you want to run this, you want to run that. He don't give a crap about that. Here's
Nope.
your job. This is what you're supposed to do. And he tells me
Yep.
that during the job interview. He's like, what do you bring to the table? I said, those are the two things.
There you go, coach. There you go. Well, coach, man, it's been a pleasure once again, everybody. TaylorMade Hoops Coaches Corner. We had Coach Patrick Nee, head coach at Allen County Junior College up in Kansas. Hey, coach, before you go, coach, man, go ahead, let the recruits know, the people that you may know that want to get in contact with you, coach. Let them know how to get in contact with your social media, what have you, because I know that you're big on social media, things like that. So let them know, coach, if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
so obviously my name's Patrick Nee. My last name's NEE. So on Twitter, it's just coach_NEE. And I'm pretty easy to find on Twitter and stuff like that. That's my main, I think that's the biggest resource, stuff like that, to be able to find me and stuff like that. Or obviously it's allencc.edu is our website at the college. Obviously you can see anything about me on there, email me. But Twitter's the best way, but send me an email and stuff like that. Like, hey, I saw you on here, and I'm here to help, man.
Oh, no doubt he is, man. And I appreciate your time, coach, man. You gave away a lot of good information, man. And like I tell all my viewers, man, hey, make sure, coach, on your social media page, coach, you post this, coach, you share it, coach, so we can build the brand. Definitely appreciate you, coach, man. And like I say, I got to go ahead and apologize again for the technical difficulties, man, because I know that, hey, man, you got other things to do to be talking to my big head, but man, so I appreciate you, man. I
No,
appreciate you,
you're the
coach.
man. Always great to talk to you. Thanks for having the show. Look forward to doing it again sometime.
Hey, appreciate you, coach. Hey, good luck on the season, coach.
Appreciate it. Thank you, man.
All right, thank you, coach.
Yep.